Hey friends, welcome back to this channel. Today's video is going to be the first market recap of 2025. So I have a little bit of pre-market footage though that I would like to share with you before we get into this market and all of the details of this specific market and how it went. I did film Friday night just it's a quick snippet of everything that I made this week so that you guys could see that inventory before I went to the market in case it sold. And so I'm going to insert that footage here and you guys can see what I made this week, and then I'll meet you back here to talk about the market itself. So let it roll. Hey friends, just a little snippet that I'm recording on Friday night. I wanted to show you everything I made this week for the market before I pack it all up in the car because the market is tomorrow morning. So let's go over what I made. There's one new pattern, maybe two new patterns in here that I'll show you. So I made more of the Triceratops. This was a pattern I showed you guys last week by Casey Bell. I'm going to put 12 on these guys. I made another loaf unicorn out from Celestial Homebody's pattern. This one's all Burnett, and I did crochet the ears into the round. I got to the horn place, and then I just backed up 2 stitches, did the ear, did the horn, went 2 stitches, kind of put them like basically where she says to surface crochet them. So, hold on. You see a little better. Sorry, it's just a mess. I did not set up to film. I was just like, let's just get this recorded. So, loaf unicorn, I'm doing 15 on these. This one's a new pattern. I had this pattern for a long time and I hadn't tried it yet. And this is a Stegosaurus by Zero Gravity Crochet. She has a Stegosaurus and a Triceratops in the same one. It's no sew. You just work it from the front to the back, and these are all bobbles. I will say that it's just really hard. There's so many bobbles. It's just really hard to make sure that they all get straight and aligned. Even if your tension's not off, you know, your stitch, I'm like, if I go this one, it's going to look over here. And if I go this one, it's going to look over here. So, if I did this one again, I might just like put one here, skip, and do like every other one maybe. I'm not sure. Or just surface crochet down the back of it. Not sure. But I really did like this pattern. I like the shape and it was really fast. It's a little smaller than the Triceratops that's from Casey Bell pattern that I was doing. And it's chunkier, more stitches around. So I'm doing 12 on these, but this one I'm going to do 15 on because it's a little slower, it is more work, and because of the bobbles, and it is more rounds and a little bit more stitches around. So that's by Zero Gravity Crochet. I made a whole bunch more of the gummy worms. I made 7 with the little hair or curlers in them, so they're bendable. I'm going to put these in the $5 bin. I did 5 of these while I watched Robin's video from Sunday. On Sunday night, I watched Robin's video, and I think it was only 36 minutes, and I did 5 while she was on 36 or 39 minutes, and I did 5. Completely done, rollers on them, closed up and everything, so they're super fast. So, but anyway, I did 2 more the other day, so I've done 7. Putting $5 on those. I did another Big Booty Bob from Travel Crochet. Boom. There you go. There he is. $5 bin. I made another swinging frog. I took Posh to work this week, and I did this and one other thing. Only 2 things at work because I was training people all week. But this frog is all from Jade's Swinging Animal pattern. Put 10 on those. I did a live Monday night, and I'll show you the chicken nuggets in a minute, but I made a jumping spider on my live, and this is handmade by Nicole, and I do 10 on these. Show you the chicken nuggets that I made. I got the eyes put on the 3 that I had made a couple weeks ago, and put on these. So I have a total of 7. I don't think I had any left from the last market. I sold them all. So there is all the different felt eye versions, and I do 12 on these, and I have 4 that from this week. I made a keychain this week. $6. That's my Tumblr pattern that's on YouTube. This is my pattern that's being tested this week, Ginger the Bunny. I was trying out, this is Lee's Softy Mega yarn. It's really, really fluffy. I really like it. I've only got this pink and white color right now. But I was trying out a different ear shape, and I just didn't like it. I was thinking of offering 2 different ear shapes, and I decided not to. But I'll still sell this one. I'm going to take it to the market, even though it's not the final pattern or anything. And then I tried to take it, and I thought about making 2 different sizes in the pattern, and I decided not to do that either. But this is a bunny that I made that's bigger. You can tell he's bigger than the other one, and I'm going to put 15 on these. And I decided night before last, that I was going to do something fun. I was done market prepping, and I had sold my succulent turtle the last time I took one, and I thought I want to make another one. I loved it so much. This is Happy Turtle Crochet's pattern. This was such a fun turtle to make. You only have to sew the head onto the body, and this time I decided to do like the coral. It's more coral than it is. It's a prettier coral than is showing on my camera right now. But there are eyes that I painted that kind of have a corally pink hue to them. I do 40 on this. And this is a snake, obviously. This is a snake pattern that I drafted before Christmas. And this is the final one. I've made it 3 different snakes trying to draft a snake pattern. And in the midst of doing that, everybody and their dog was coming out with a snake pattern. So I just finished my thought and made this one. And then I haven't even talked about it or released the pattern, or I don't even think I'll release the pattern. But it is a, I tacked this, so it like actually sits with its head up and curled into a ball. You could choose not to tack it, but the way that the pattern is written, it naturally curves like this. Not quite as much as it is right here, because I've tacked it into place so that it sits kind of for like in a striking position, or coiled up like it's just sitting and coiled. It looks odd because the colors, when I got done and I tacked it up, the color changes. Didn't look like stripes anymore. It was just scrap yarn. So, but anyway, I wanted to show it to you because I am going to go ahead and take it to the market, and I'm going to put $20 on it. So I'm going to include it in this week's inventory, even though I made it a while back, just because it goes into my inventory for the market. And I don't want to miss accounting for the inventory, so that I can tell you a total number of the inventory that I took to the market. So that is all I made this week. I forgot to total it all up before I started the video, and I don't want to hit pause, take my phone down, use a calculator, and then have a second snippet to this little piece. So I'm going to be very lazy, and I'm just going to put the total up here. I'm going to guess that it was just under $200, but I'm not sure. But I'll put the total that I made of inventory up here on the screen when I'm editing, because I'll total it up when I'm done, and that way you guys have the total. So my car is all packed except for the stuff that I just showed you, and then I have 2 partial bags in here that I'm going to throw all of that stuff into. I have price tags ready. I've got them all written out. I'm getting ready to take my tags and attach them to the stuff that gets price tags, and then put them all in the plushie bags. And then I have these 2 plushie bags that are over here ready to go into the car, and then the car is ready. Just wanted to show you that before I packed it all up, got it all in the car. And because a lot of times I don't show you what I made the week that I have a market, I just show you the market setups and the recaps and everything on Sunday, and I kind of skip what I made. And so I thought maybe you guys would want to see the things that I made this week. So we'll see you in a little bit with market footage. So bye. Okay, so I did also take a little bit of pre-market footage. The morning of the market, I have a hyperlapse of the setup. I do have a video of the setup in regular speed, so you can guys see where I have everything at. And I do have a hyperlapse of the takedown. So I'll go ahead and insert that. This market's just, it has some little bit of, it was a little different. So I want to make sure that I hit all those details. And so I think I'm just going to roll all of the market footage that I do have. And then we'll meet back here to talk about what I made and what I feel like, how I feel about this market. There's a little bit of some talking points here. So I will meet you back here again to go over what sold and my thoughts. So, hey, it's market day. I'm all packed up. Just got to Tara's. I'm waiting on her to come out and bring her bags. This is just all of my stuff and all of the setup stuff. And then we'll be on our way. As usual, I'm running about 10 minutes past what my anxiety would really like me to be running. And that doesn't mean that I'm late. That just means that when I'm earlier, I'm less anxious. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, it's freezing. I'll turn the camera. Raising. So cold. There's snow. It's 17 degrees outside Fahrenheit, by the way. So we'll see you guys when we're set up. first off, let's start with the fact that I have done this market before. I did it a long time ago when I used to sew and sell baby bibs and burp cloths. And I did this market for several years in a row. With baby stuff, it's year round. There's always babies being born, showers people are going to, and spring was still a pretty good time for me when I did baby stuff. Spring markets with amigurumi stuff is just a hit or a miss. I feel like if people have extra money and kids come by, you know, it's like a little treat. It is not a necessity. It is not a gift a lot of times, unless you catch somebody who has people's birthdays, or in this case, there was a few people buying for Easter baskets that did, you know, mention that. But for the most part, people are just buying to buy if they have extra cash. Okay, sorry. Let's see if I could fix that angle just a little bit. So this market started with us arriving on time. We had a new spot this year, just catty corner from like the hallway corner that we were on last year, which this was my first market recap ever on YouTube, and you can go back and watch it if you want. And we moved because that was a skinny 8x8 space in a hallway, and it was pretty tight. And so we moved to an 8x10, just on one of the main, not the main hallways, but I mean, there's a main hallway and then there's hallways off of that and another hallway that runs this way. And we were in the not the main hallway, but this one last time, and now we were in like the furthest back hallway that went this way, pretty close to the corner. So we get there and we are setting up in the space. We've pretty much figured out how we're going to do it because we are blocked on both sides with booths. We are one down from the corner, but so we have somebody on both sides. So we're trying to stay in our space and we're doing all of that. And towards the end of that, it gets close to time when there should be somebody arriving for the space next to us. And they're not showing up. And so it's like 8:30 and I'm like, the show starts at 9. I'm like, if they're not going to show up before we get all done filming and settled into our seats, like, do we need to move? So I went up front and talked to the coordinator, and I was like, hey, there is an empty spot right next to us. You know, did those people cancel? Do you know if they are coming or not? And she said, let me check on that and I'll get back to you. So she came back to our booth, and you might have seen in the hyperlapse that I was talking to the lady, which she was really nice. And I get that her rules are not the rules of, you know, she didn't necessarily create them all by herself, but she's like, okay, they did cancel. You know, these people are not showing up, but if you want to move into their space, you need to pay for it. And this is the first time I had encountered this, because as a rule, the people that had canceled have paid for the space and they are not going to get a refund. They canceled last minute, so they have already paid for that space. This foundation has already gotten their money for that space. And me moving into that space really it benefits me, yes, but it also benefits them because it spreads people out and it makes the fair look more full. You don't want the impression that it's declining in vendors and they're just a bunch of empty spots. And so for me, I had never ever encountered a craft fair in my 15 years of doing craft fairs, maybe 20, where they had actually asked me to pay for the spot that somebody else had canceled and already paid for. So I kind of brought that up to her, and I was trying to be as kind as I could. I was like, but didn't they already pay for this spot? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and they canceled last minute, so they're not going to get their money back. Like, you've been paid. Like, if I pay you, then you're getting double paid. Like, she's like, hey, she's like, I understand. She's like, but I'm just the messenger, and I get that. I get that. Well, the people next to us overheard our conversation, and they were like, hey, it was $60 to move into this space. And I'm like, I was like, hey, I'm not paying $60. I paid $60 for this spot. I'm not paying $60 again. I just couldn't spend $120 on expanding the space. Although it was going to put us closer to the hallway on the corner. We're still in the corner because now that lady is gone and there's nobody there. We were just a little farther away from the end. And I was like, nah, I'm sorry. I'm not spending $60. Like, we're going to make this work. Well, he overheard, and he's like, we would love some more space. He's like, we'll go halves if you'll move all the way down, and we'll go half on this spot between us. Like, I get an extra 4 feet, you get an extra 4 feet. And I'm like, so finally we settled on that. I paid $30, he paid $30, which I still didn't feel great about, but I did it, and I did enjoy the extra space. So in the hyperlapse, you saw us basically get all set up with our bookshelves up against the booth next to us, because we tried them on the back wall and we just didn't think that was going to work. The tables like this made the space too skinny to get to them, so we're like, we need the bookshelves on the side and the table on the back wall. And so we apologized, and they're like, oh no, it's just the way it is, you know, like, you're welcome to stand those up there if you want to. And I'm like, and we didn't put the cheesecloth in the back, so we're like, we wanted people to be able to still see down, that there was full aisles full of people. Sometimes we put a cheesecloth up if somebody else's stuff's right behind it and we're trying to highlight our things. So we got pretty much all set up, and we had like 20 minutes at this point to move our whole booth down a space and leave half of it in the space that we were in. So, and everything is on the shelves. So me and Tara's like picking everything up, and we're trying to move it all without taking everything off the shelves, trying to figure out how we're going to do it, because traffic comes from both directions. Like, you want the people coming from this way to see stuff, and you want the people coming from the corner. And so you've seen how we kind of landed on having our checkout 4-foot tables like facing the hallway entrance to the other hallway, and then we kind of had our cheap $5 and $8 stuff kind of facing the other direction at that same kind of corner. And that's just kind of what we landed on. We really didn't have enough time to really think of any other better solution, and it worked. It left a really big open space for people to come back and see the bookshelves as well. So, but we were sitting by the bookshelves, and Tara's like, I feel kind of like people are gonna be a little shy to come back here and look at them because I'm sitting right here by it. And I'm like, we moved down a little bit more just to kind of avoid that. And then we try not to like just stare at people right when they're right there next to you. So we moved around, and so at the end of the day, I spent $90 on this booth space. So we're all set up. We finally got settled, and we're getting in our seats, and I took a video of everything, and she took her video, and we're sitting there, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, it starts at 9, and I'm like, it's 9:07, and it's like, there's nobody walking around. And we're like, usually, like, you know, the doors open at 9, people are kind of waiting outside, and they, you know, it's not as big as this same show happens. A show at the same school happens in December, that last market that you saw in December that I did, and it's a big show, and it's a lot of people, and they're lined up at the door to come in. This show also has an entry fee, and there are some people lined up at the door, but it's not as big. It's springtime, and there is a basketball tournament going on in their gym at the same time that they have a separate entrance for. And if those people want to come into the craft show, like in between games and things, they can, but they have to pay to get in there. So the traffic was just slow. It was slow all day. We thought, well, maybe towards lunch, and we went and looked at the food selection, and we're like, it's not like there was great big food trucks set up or a fancy, like, the other castle show has Chick-fil-A brought in, and pizza brought in, and some neat food brought in like that. This place did have a hot dog vendor that does, like, usually has a food truck, but they were set up inside. And then they had their own, like, pulled pork and mac and cheese. Outside of that, there wasn't a lot of selection for lunch. So I don't think that brought in a lot of extra people as far as coming there because they had a great food vendor or anything. Because you paid to get in. Let's just get into what I sold. And then we're going to talk about why I think this market was not as good as it was last year, because we were at this exact same show last year. Okay, and I think this time I'm going to try to put pictures up on the screen for you of what I sold, because it wasn't a ton, and I'm just going to like take little screen grabs of the booth setup and kind of try to, you're just going to have to identify the item possibly in the picture. Some of them I just may not have an item, but because there's not 100 pieces sold like sometimes there is at my markets, I'm going to take the time to try to do a little bit of that in this clip. So I'm going to take my trusty piece of paper here. I did forget my normal notebook that I write all of our sales in. I was really bummed, but we just used a piece of paper, and that worked because there wasn't a lot of stuff to write down. So the first sale of the day didn't happen until like 9:35, 9:40 maybe-ish. I sold the blue crayon from Ashley Going Crochetsy's pattern test that I did. It was blue, and art teacher bought it. It was cute, and she bought a little mini chicken nugget as well for $5. The next sale of the day was one of my squirrels that was sitting on top of the crate. It was a tan colored squirrel in one of my bendable gummy worms. The next sale of the day was my succulent turtle, which I made this week, and I really didn't think it would sell at this show. I just really wanted another one at my display, and I had it priced at $40, and it sold. It was so funny because like they looked at it, walked away, and came back probably 30 minutes later, and she just walked right up like she had looked around, and that's what she decided she wanted, and it was funny. And the next thing I sold was one of the Triceratops, which was a new pattern I tried from Casey Bell. I had 3 of them. That sold next. Then I sold my Fred, the turtle. I only had 1 Fred in Burnett yarn, and it sold for $25. I sold a swinging animal next. It was the, actually it was 2 swinging animals. It was both of the All From Jade frogs. And she was getting 1 for her and 1 for a friend. Next I sold my Stardew Valley chicken, the blue one. That was on the ladder shelf next to me. In my pattern, it was my Sitting Birds pattern. I talked about a couple weeks ago that I modded it to make it a Stardew Valley chicken. And she's like, oh, they're gonna be so excited. I think it was for a niece. It might have been a cousin. She's like, they raise chickens and her favorite color is blue. And she's like, she's gonna love this. I don't think she had any idea it was a Stardew Valley chicken, which it said it on the tag, but I mean, you know, they looked at the tag for the price, but maybe she thought Stardew Valley was the color of blue. I don't know, but I didn't mention it, and she bought it for an Easter gift. I sold my bunny, which was my pattern. So last week I had tried the bunny in a larger version. I thought about making 2 sizes in my pattern and decided not to. And the larger version that I tried and wrote the pattern for is the one that sold for $15. I sold one of the Minecraft spiders. I sold a little whale, one of the $8 whales that were at the bottom of the little $5 and $8 bin. A little boy came up, and him and his dad, and he's like, this is the one I want. So I pulled it off the shelf and paid for it, and he walked away. It was cute. The next sale was somebody buying things for an Easter basket. She bought one of the Triceratops from Casey Bell, so I sold 2 of those out of the 3. She bought a $10 octo. I think it was my very last octo from all these octos I made last year. I made like 10 or 12 octos in different colors, and I had one left that was in a pink, white, purple multicolor, and she bought that. A $10 Premier Basics Chenille Baby Turtle, a set of my burp cloths, and that Triceratops I talked about, and it was like a $50 sale total, which was an Easter basket. And then I sold my large strawberry that I made a couple weeks ago, and then I sold another swinging animal. I believe this swinging animal was the chicken. I think it was the chicken. Then I sold one of my Burnett Itty Bitty Snakes from Saucy Puffin Crafts in the green variety that had the creepy, it didn't have the creepy eyes, it had the black eyes. And I sold a Big Booty Bob. Nope, it wasn't Big Booty Bob. He got picked up a lot, actually, and he got looked at a lot, but the frog that I did sell was the little pocket frog from Steph's Stitches. And I'm done. My son Henry, we took his little keychain rack that had the perler keychains that had the One Piece and Minecraft, Fortnite, Pokemon, and Had some lightsabers from Star Wars on it. Had some different characters that he had made, and we put keychains on, the backpack clips. We had taken that stand for him, he's making them for the Anime Fest, and we just thought, well, we'll take it. If we have a corner we can set it on, we'll set it up. And he did sell one of those, one of the One Piece logo skull things. It was fun, so he was excited about that. So total sales at this market was $273 for me. Remember that Tara will do her own market recap. My daughter that you've seen in the videos, we do markets together. She's Old Soul Factory here on YouTube, and Old Soul Factory Crochet on Instagram. So she'll do her own market recap, probably. I mean, she should. I think she doesn't have a lot to talk about either, but she'll do her own, and you'll see how much she sold. But even together, we did not do well. So I sold $273 minus the $90 booth fee. I a lot of times pay pretty much the whole booth fee, and you know, sometimes if our show is really big, Tara, you know, I have Tara pitch in a little bit, or I don't. I take a little bit off for fees and things like that. But $273 minus $90 booth fee was a net of $183, and that does not count the processing fees on the square. I did have one Venmo payment that I took for $15. I would say outside of that, it was half and half, cash and square. I didn't add it all up as far as my stuff goes. So 183 net, but 273 gross. Last year, without Tara's stuff, I did over $800 last year. So I had figured that it might be a little slower than it was before, and I'll tell you all of those reasons. There's 4 or 5 main reasons why, but I didn't think it would be this bad. And I did not sign up again for this market. I did tell Tara, I was like, I think what we'll do is we're going to try to find some other unique things to do in the spring that are not craft shows necessarily, and if we can't, we can always apply to this again like a new vendor would. There's no new vendor fee, but we can always apply again. And I said there was enough people that had canceled or didn't show up this year that I'm sure there'll be spots for next year if we just decide to get in. So let's get into all of the reasons why I think this show was not near as good as last year. Doing less than half of the year before, like far less than half, it's pretty shocking to me. You know, so when you have done a show before, you kind of go into the next year with a little bit of an expectation. Outside of the fact that I think that sometimes when you go back the next year, you do maybe a little bit less if the same crowd shows up because they've seen your stuff before. But I do a lot of different stuff. So like next year when I go to a show, I'll have totally different stuff on my table than I had the year before. I don't do 8 to 10 items and a bunch of each one. I do 100 different things, and sometimes I have multiples of the cheaper, smaller things, which I think usually helps me when there's competition, simply because I have such a huge variety of things between me and Tara, but especially what I do is such a huge wide range of lots of different stuff, and I think that helps me. Even when there is competition, because they come by and if they haven't bought a crochet thing already, a lot of times I'll just have an animal or a character or something that they have just not seen before or that they love, and they buy it even, you know, for that specific reason. So reasons why I think this market was not as good. Number one, the weather. It had snowed here 3 or 4 days before this market, and the snow was cleared out of the roads and most parking lots and sidewalks, but it was still frigidly cold. It was, I think, 17 degrees when I left my house yesterday morning. It got up to maybe 30 something in the middle of the afternoon, but it was just cold. It was cold to get out. It didn't feel like spring. It's supposed to be a spring market, and it was just cold. Easter is also late this year. So Easter basket time is like, it's into April and we're still almost 2 months away from Easter. Last year, Easter was closer to this market by several weeks. So, weather. Number 2, sicknesses. I don't know if you are aware, but there is a ton of flus and viruses and things going around. It was the main reason that there was vendors that did not show up at the last minute. There was 3 empty booths on our row, one next to us, 3 or 4 down there was one. I didn't see as many, like just walking around, I don't know, people just filled in spaces, but I probably saw, on the half of the market I got to, I probably saw 6 to 7 empty spaces. And if they know a day or two ahead of time, they call wait list, and some people filled some of the cancellations. And so I think the number 2 reason why this market wasn't as good was because of sickness. People were not getting out. They had the flu, they have a cold, they have whatever they may have, or they were afraid of getting sick and being out, and so they just stayed home. Number 3 was the amount of crocheters. Simply put, this is a juried show, as in you have to send in pictures and you have to show what you make. That's to validate that you are a handmade vendor, I believe, and that it's not just flea market stuff or resale things. But outside of that, I don't think they do, at this show, they don't do a lot of limiting the types in each category. And so there were probably at least 8, if not 10 crochet booths at this market. So there was a lot of kids that came by our booth, 3 rows in, already had something in their hand, because kids are impatient. Even if it, parent says, why don't we wait, we just get started, whatever, and they impulsively go ahead, and they're afraid that their parent won't come back to that space, or they'll forget or whatever, and they want something right now. And so a lot of people come to our booth and they already had something in their hand. Like I said, I feel like we usually do okay when there's a competition, but there just was not as many kids there either. Okay, so the weather, the sickness, and the competition. Lastly, the reason I think that this market was not as good as it has been in the past is just simply put, the economy. We saw this affect even our fall markets. Everyone was saying it was because it was election year. And I think that election year or not, inflation was on the rise. People were holding back slightly, maybe in their budgets. They were seeing their grocery prices go up, or their rent go up, or their utilities go up, and the interest rates are going up. And I felt like, that curbs people some when they're shopping for Christmas and things, but it probably really curbs them in the spring when they don't have to buy anything at all. This is not a necessity. It was not yet Easter time. And if it's not Georgie's birthday that they need to buy a present for, which he probably wants Legos and something mass produced at the store anyway, then, they just weren't spending the money, especially on something like crochet. The people next to us were selling these neat, they were like the beer taps, like the metal beer tap things, but they had put these really neat birch things, like wood pieces on each end. And they could screw into a beer tap if you wanted them, but they also had like a fire poker stick or a roasting stick for camping or doing like a fire pit, that you could buy one or the other to go with it. But the metal part of the stick was brands like they were beer brands, whiskey brands, they were teams, sports, those kinds of things, or they had neat sayings on them that were kind of kitschy and camping things on them, whatever they might have been. And they sold, I was surprised how much that they sold at their booth. And they came, theirs was a little bit more of a niche kind of thing. People hadn't seen that thing. They were the only one there selling that type of thing. But he even asked me at the end of the day if how the show was for us, and I said we probably did half of what we did, less than half of what we did last year, and he said us too. And I had also heard another vendor down the road talk about how they had never seen such light traffic at this market. Our next market is the Anime Fest on May the 10th. So we have like, I don't know, it's a 10, 11, 12 weeks, something like that until that market. But then 3 weeks after that market, we have a big market I've never done before. I don't know what to expect, but I've heard it's big. And then the weekend after that is the Strawberry Festival we did last year, which was a 2-day thing down in Owensboro, Kentucky, and it was also pretty big last year. Do I expect that all of these spring markets will be affected by the things I just mentioned? Possibly. I mean, maybe not. If they're outside, the weather, yes. If the economy is not starting to feel like it's recovered, maybe yes. If, you know, there might be lots of crocheters there, so that might also affect that. I don't know. But, so it's just kind of like I like to do 2 or 3 just to kind of keep myself motivated and working towards a goal. If I had nothing in the spring and the summer, which the June one is the last one of the summer, and then we're off until right now September, I think. Anyway, got that going on. Any other news in the Stacy Makes world is people are working on my bunny pattern. It is with testers right now. They're supposed to be done, I believe, by Wednesday, with their pictures and their testing and their feedback. So probably by the end of this week, you will see the release of Ginger the bunny. And so we went to Chick-fil-A, and then we decided to hit up the Joann that we have in our the Joann that's the most local to us is just 10 minutes from where this market was. So we went there. Sorry, eye itches. So we went to Joann. They did have all, like last time I was there in January, like the shelves were emptied. People were panic buying, I think, too. And there was just this whole section in the middle by the yarn that was just boxes. I mean, like probably five rows, 3 deep, plus the 3 or 4 high. I mean, box after box after box of stuff that needed to be put away. This time, 3 or 4 weeks later, it was, all those boxes were gone. They were either sold because they were picking out of them still, or they were put away, and there was a little bit more on the shelves, which was good to see. Our local store that's an hour from us, so that's the most local one that we have, is on the list to stay open. I know that there was an auction for Joann yesterday, and there are rumors that the buyer, if the final bid is accepted, there is rumors that the buyer plans to close all of the stores, and who knows. So at this point, there's not a whole lot I can do to change any of it, but we did go by, and I bought a few little things, not much. I was out of dark gray Burnett. I used the last of it on the bunny that I made, and I bought 1 skein of the patchwork that I didn't have before, that was the blues, and that's all I bought. Tara bought several things in there, and I do have some footage actually that maybe I'll insert while I talk over it, of like they had some new Big Twist plush jumbo in the store. So imagine obviously the Big Twist plush, which is already a little bit bigger than Burnett. This was even bigger than that. And it was really soft. It was really nice. And I'm assuming that it's something that they had designed and committed to long before that they filed for bankruptcy again. And so it's kind of flowing into the stores, but it's not going to obviously be restocked or kept if, something happens to their brand. So, but there was that. So I did have that footage of some of the different colors. And then they had these little skeins of really tiny yarn. It was a blend, I believe, but it was called Big Twist amigurumi, which I thought was funny, but really traditional amigurumi wasn't made with plush yarn. So it's kind of a throwback to, I think, where amigurumi came from, when people, and some people still do, but like make the very detailed tiny, dolls and characters and things like that out of the really tiny fine yarn. So there was like a little end things of that amigurumi yarn, which I just thought was unique. It's in the clip as well. So what was I going to say? Oh, we did get recognized. That was funny. Well, we have been recognized once or twice before, and had somebody come up and say hello. I know that I had a viewer, Simply Shayna Creations, I believe is her Instagram, that had commented a couple weeks ago and was like, hey, I didn't realize we're going to be at the same show together. And she did come over and introduce herself to us, and I went and gave her a little follow on Instagram, and so she too was having a slow day. And then there was another lady that came by that was like, aren't you guys on YouTube? And we're like, yeah, we are. And she's like, oh, I watched some of your videos. And she's like, I'm also a crocheter. She's like, but I don't do this type of stuff. But she still watches my videos. I thought was kind of neat. And then when we were in Joann's, the Castle Market that's in December, we met a fellow crocheter that is very close to us, and I can't for the life of me remember her Instagram handle, but her daughter was with her and recognized us and was like, Mom, that's the YouTubers, which I thought it was funny. And they backtracked and said hello, and we talked about the market and just that it wasn't very good, and how the markets are kind of seem to be going and things, and just we talked yarn and markets and things like that for 10 minutes in the middle of Joann. It was fun. So but it was neat that the little girl watches the YouTubes with her mom and saw us in Joann's and was just like, it was funny. So it was sweet too, though. And if you're watching again, hi. She's learning how to crochet. So I think that's it, guys. I think that's all I have. The next few weeks, I will be kind of just doing whatever I want, whatever feels good, whatever brings me joy, because I don't necessarily have this huge market prep plan, but I will be back with some things for you guys, obviously, every week. And the crochet retreat is, me and April are going a little bit earlier than everybody else. So I leave in a few weeks, and the actual retreat's March 12th through the 16th. So just praying for some great weather. And me and April are so excited. We have so many things planned for this retreat. We're excited about that. It's getting really close, and also nervous. I mean, you know, to be away from home for a week and the kids and things, but it'll be okay and it'll be fun. So I'll put a little bit more focus into that the next few weeks too, as I got to do some prep and figure out all of our itineraries and our plans and that kind of thing. So, okay, that was enough. I chatted way longer than I had anticipated today. Sorry about the longer video again, or maybe you liked it, who knows. But hopefully you guys had a great week and enjoyed seeing what I made and seeing a market. Not all of them are good, but seems like something good always comes out of them. You learn, you grow. We made some connections. We met some people that were really nice, and I got to spend the day with my daughter. So that was fun. So what a great day either way. So we will catch you guys later. I appreciate you being here. Have a great week and happy crocheting, guys. We'll see you. Bye.